When did that get here?
So as you can see, we're gonna need these two mounting brackets for mounting our light bar. Let's take a look at it first. First off, if you've just gotten brackets like this, there's gonna be some foam that you have to add. As you can see on mine, you can see it there. There's one large piece right here, which goes on, and then you get two smaller pieces. One goes here, one goes here. You leave the top kind of open because that's gonna be away from the body anyway. Next thing you're gonna wanna do is, if you can take a cloth. You can first wash your Jeep, or you can take a cloth, wipe this all down, and just make sure there's no dirt or gunk on here, because you don't wanna press anything into it as you're tying these on. Next thing you're gonna wanna do is take out this screw, this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw. You don't have to take out, for this particular bracket, this screw, so you can leave this one on. Just remove these 5 right here. All cleaned up. Now that's all shiny and green again. Haven't seen it like that. Wow. Can line these up and just hand thread those screws in till they're all lined up. And after that, torque them to a good spec to your liking. To me, I like to just tighten them as tight as I can go with one hand, and that usually does it. I don't actually have a torque spec for you, but I mean, they don't come out very hard, so it's not like you're gonna be cranking on these things, but just make sure you put them on enough that these aren't gonna loosen off and start waving in the wind. They do have a washer, so that should help, and some other fun stuff like that. So let's tie these on. It's all good to go. So when you're tightening them, this is usually the hardest one to get in, I find anyway. So what I like to do is I put this one in loosely, and then this one in, and then there. Tie these ones in a little bit, like tie that one in, and as you tie it in, it'll bring this closer. You should be able to tie that one in afterwards, then tie that on, and then just tighten them all, and keep going in like a star pattern until they're completely tight. Do the same on the other side.
You're gonna wanna grab the screws. Once you grab the screws for your light bar, slide on your spring washer and then your regular washer. If yours doesn't have a spring washer, I would suggest grabbing one, just because if you're putting a light bar on, I'd hope you'd be off-roading, and if you are off-roading, you're gonna get a lot of shaking and moving, and if you don't have that spring washer in there, it's gonna loosen off, and you don't need a light bar dropping onto your windshield, because that will suck. Now, you need to also distinguish which hole you're gonna go into on here. Now, as you can see, the hole that's mainly used for mine is a slide-on. This is bad for security reasons, so if you're gonna leave your light bar on all the time, you might wanna use this hole back here. But for me, I wanna use this hole right here because I'll probably be removing my light bar when I'm not in the bush. And that's just because I found that one, it really does affect your gas mileage. I mean, you're adding a big flat space. So if you think that 5-row light bar is a good idea, I wouldn't suggest it. 2 rows is about the max, 2 to 3 rows. And then of course, single row would of course cost probably the least amount of drag. I mean, I tested this theory. I've had this on here before, or a different light bar, and my gas mileage, I was losing, I want to say a liter per kilometer. So I went from say 11.9 to 13.1 per 100 kilometers. Just something for you to think about. So this isn't an easy part to show you with the video running, but what I do is you just lightly thread them and make sure you get at least 3 or 4 turns in. And once you get 3 or 4 turns in on each screw end, you lift it, you hook it on the other hook, and then you put it on here. Now, if you're gonna be putting it in the security holes, the thing you need to know is you're gonna need 2 people, because you've gotta put it through on one side, and then you gotta put it through on the other side. I wouldn't risk not doing it with 2 people. Like, you might think you could rest it on the roof or something. If you do that, you could of course have it slide, anything, and if it strips those threads on the screw or something, you're kind of have to re-tap everything, and that kind of sucks. So I would line it up. Just when you're done, just go to both sides, make sure, and then I know it's aiming up at the ceiling right now, but don't worry, you're gonna fix this. There's ridges on the end of this, and they're meant to grip the sidewall. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn it right about where you'd like it, and then you're gonna crank these in. And you can do that with any Allen key driver, so do that now. With this light bar, there is long screws and short screws. So I put the long ones on just to get them on there. Now, once I got the long screws on, I took the short ones and I replaced it.
Now you're gonna have to squeeze in quite a bit on this, but it gives enough tension. And trust me, once you tighten these puppies on, you don't really have to worry about this light bar going anywhere. And give them a good crank and you'll feel those teeth grip in really nicely. And see how mine aim just down a little bit? That's just so it's there. Again, you can always do that. Another thing I'll be doing is if you take a look at those cooling fins, is later on I'll be putting some foam in the cooling fins. Now what this does is when you go high speeds, like highway speeds, it cuts down on all that humming. Now if you've never had a 50 or 52 inch light bar before mounted above your windshield, I can tell you now, they hum. So to get rid of that, we're gonna have to stuff the fins. Now you put a bit of foam in there, and what it does is it just eats up that gap and it cuts down on it. So I'll be doing another video on that. Well, now that we have this mounted, let's back up a little bit, take a quick look at it. Again, I have my hood open, but it's looking pretty sleek up there. It looks good with the front light bar there, and I got a rear light bar too. Pop this latch, so it's like that. Pop this one to the side so it's off of here. Go over here, and pop that latch. Next thing you can always do too is you can even pop this one. After you do that, you can loosen this screw and it'll loosen off this edge so you have some play. Once you do all that, check this out. You can go up and you can lift this just enough so you can play around. Once you can actually play around and do your stuff, you can, now it's up to you. You'll see how there's 2 layers? I prefer not to pierce through that second layer. I like to just do the first layer, like, let's see if I can show you. See, there's 2 rubber walls here. There's one in the front and then one in the back. I like to go around there, and then you can come up. If you follow this groove, you'll see there's a water runoff. It gets to right here, and then it kind of goes like this. You can make your wire follow that without going too crazy with it. And then once you do that and it follows just like this, you can tuck it into this plastic piece right here. And I've just got it lightly tucked in right here. Again, mine's gonna be a quick removal, so for me, this works because that way I don't have to go too crazy. I just loosen my top like that, and then I'll have some quick disconnects right here, so I can quick disconnect and take the bar right off. But for you, you might wanna do a different way. Now that I've got this here, I'm gonna wire my light bar to my switch under the hood. So to your wiring harness, there's some key points. You have a button. I suggest unplugging that and having it off to the side. You'd also have another power wire, black and red one, that would be coming off of here, but I've cut that for my own switch that I'm using, and that's actually just dangling right here. I will be zap strapping that up, but that would come right here to the relay. Now, if you're putting a fresh relay, you can actually see my relay packs here on the side, because I've done a few relays. As you can see, what I've done here, if I can move this over a bit, is this is the relay, and then this is the stamp, which you mount to the body. So what I would suggest you do is, if you want to, and you're gonna screw it in just like that, you'll have your ground like this. You'll put it behind the mounting point. If it's plastic, if it's metal, it doesn't matter, but since it's plastic, we need it against the frame. You'll either clean that off with a little bit of sandpaper so it's bare metal, or whatever you wanna do there. I would suggest making it bare metal, and then you can take this, go like that, and put a screw right through the front here, and then mount it so that pinches that round half moon against the frame. Now you have a perfect body ground. Then you have this fuse. Well, that's pretty easy. If you look, you have another half moon right here. All you gotta do is right there. See how that is? All you're gonna do is take this and loosen off that 10 mil bolt, any one of these, but majorly that one, and then you can tie that on there. Once you do that, you can tie it up like this, mount your relay there, and huzzah, now you just get to bring all your wires into the body. Now to do that actually isn't too bad. All you gotta do is, I'm gonna move this out of the way for a second, but we're gonna pop our engine cover off, like so. So I'll just put this down behind myself. And then, as you can see, there's all my wiring. You just zap strap it there along that back firewall, right to right there, which is the brake cylinder. Right beside that brake cylinder, you can see all my wires are going in over there. I'm gonna walk to the other side and I'll show you that. So as you can see, if I position this light right, just below that bolt, you'll see a hole in the metal down there. If you don't have a standard Jeep, that is where your clutch would go or come out of. You can actually just poke right through there, either with your finger or with a screwdriver, whatever you want to do. There's no wires in there, but if you do, if we go over here, go into the bottom of the Jeep. Let's see if I can show you. But you can see my amp power wire, which is probably more noticeable. See how it's just coming out of there? There's a hole right there, right where a clutch wire would be. And that's exactly where you'd bring it through. Once you bring your wires out through there, I decided to put my switches right there. Now how you get access to that very easily is just navigate your wires along through here. And this you can just pop out with your hands. It's very easy. Like that. I'm just gonna leave this on because I have all my switches connected, but that just pops out if you pull it towards you. After that, you have one more piece, which I would suggest taking out, and that's this side piece to get access to there. Remember, that's where I left the wiring. So we're gonna tuck it in down through here, and then it'll be in this panel. Now, if you have a panel popper, or if you're pretty good with your finger, like I am, you can do this. Let's see if I can, there we go. You just pop it out with your finger, and you can start going like this. Boom, it's nice and loosely off. Move that out of the way, and look at that. You can now tuck this in all the way up to here, and then you can have your quick disconnects pretty close to here. So that way you can just pull the wire out here when you want to quick disconnect it if you ever want to. So I'm gonna quickly run my wires in through the firewall here, and I'm gonna put it all up. Once you have your switch, it's connected to the battery like I showed you. And then up here, it's pretty easy, red to red, black to black. What you can do is, if you notice, one side already has spade terminals on it, like so. So that means you just need to buy male spade terminals to go on this end, so that way it's a quick disconnect. Just in case you're wondering what those male disconnects look like, they look like this. They're just a blade. And then again, we can just slide our females right onto there now. But first I've got to navigate my female connectors, and then after we do that, I'm just gonna start zap strapping, but first I'll probably test out the light bar. All right, just a quick test. Wow, that is bright. You can hear that relay going. Well, when it clicks. All right, so I'm gonna just clean up my wiring by zap strapping it. And then after that, I'll try and get out tonight and show you guys what it looks like out in the darkness. So there is a look without the light bar, with the light bar. Fantastic. So let's go take a look on the outside. I'm gonna just turn on my rock lighting so I can see the floor around the Jeep. Let's take a look. Again, this isn't even my front light bar, my headlights. It's just the 5D light bar there. Wow, that looks good. So you can see it's nice and bright, and it's perfect for what you want in the bush. I don't know if you can see very well right now, but see how that's a scattered beam? And then this is fixated, and if I move over a little bit, that's probably gonna scatter a little bit too. That's because this section is fog, and this section is fog, and that section right there is spotlight. So, that is a look at the 5D light bar. I'm gonna have to try and get some night shots in. So I will let you guys see that as soon as the sun goes down here. Before I show you the light bar, I want to show you, this is what parking lights look like on mine. This is my headlights. As you can see, my headlights are still pretty good. So with my headlights on, let's show you what my front light bar looks like. So that's my front light bar. As you can see, it's very spot. It's not that crazy, right? Now, let's show you that overhead. Let's see how much it fills in. bam. Holy smokes, you can see the light ray and everything off of that. And see how it floods it out? So let's turn that off. I'm gonna actually turn off all my lights except for that top light bar. All right, let's turn off this 1, 2. Let's just turn on the overhead. So it's still this one's very spot angled. I mean, it does a great job. I can see everything in front of me. That is a really bright light bar. And I mean, that's the thing with the D5s. They're supposed to be bright, but one thing I noticed right away is the auxbeam has that other one. I think it's the X series, and it definitely floods a lot better. This one, it does flood, but not nearly as crazy as the other one. Like, I mean, I can still see the sides of the lake over there, and I can still see the sides of the lake over here. So let's turn that off, and that's just the top. Let's see this. There you go. So that's how much you're missing out of that. Now let's turn off the light bars, and let's just go back to headlights. So that's my headlights. So I mean, you still are getting more with the light bar. Let's turn on the light bar now. See, it's still lighting up the corners a little bit better there. All in all, it is brightening everything. A lot of hood reflection, but that's to be expected. Definitely heard my alternator kick right in right there. This thing draws a lot of power. So my warnings to people that are purchasing this is, 1, this light bar whistles loud. You have to do something with the cooling fins if you're gonna drive with this on all the time. Even just driving up here, it drove me crazy. But I might be doing a video coming up here soon where I'm going to show you guys how to get rid of that. I've been just researching, looking at a bunch of different techniques, and if I get one that actually is like a good one, I'll show you. The biggest thing is balancing the differences, like or the heating and the sound. Because yeah, you could get rid of this noise completely by stuffing certain things in the fins, but if you stuff it with the wrong stuff, I don't want you guys to like overheat your light bar or anything like that. So anyways, I hope this kind of helped you out. Just to show you, this is my high beams. I didn't show you my high beams on this thing. So there's my high beams. So let's still compare this to the high beam. Jeez, yeah, I can hear that pulling from it. But yeah, there you go. I mean, is it a good light bar? It casts off a lot of light, holy smokes. But I don't know, it all, to each their own, right? It all depends on what you're looking for from a light bar. Personally, I think it's great, and if it's what you're looking for, I hope this video helped you find it. So thanks again for watching. Like the video if it did, and subscribe for more. You never know what I'm going to throw up next. This is the sound it makes. The faster you go, the worse it gets.